now come on the air. If this is not true, go ahead and stop me, Josh. But I'd just like to welcome our audience to the pilot episode of Alpha Stack's DevChat. We aim to discuss a variety of innovative technologies, as well as some of the more mundane things. So we'll just try to keep the format fresh. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and do a short roundtable. My name's Stephen House. I've been in the tech world since I can remember. Let's see, probably about. Try to keep the what? Oh, I'm here. I'm hearing myself, so I'll go ahead and cut it out right now and on to anybody else till I can cancel this echo. Josh,
Actually, that's the live stream. Just mute the player on your live stream on YouTube.
all right.
I had to do the same. It's coming through real good.
Oh, BA. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got that. So now I will come back to the video call. That's good to know. So, all right. Hence, this is our pilot. All right. So I was going a short round table. I'm Stephen House. Been doing tech my entire life. I just like to do crazy, innovative things and use technology in order to, one, solve problems, and two, make money, and three, and I'll switch this with number two, improve people's lives. So. You can find out more about me on alphastacks.com/about-us. Josh, how you doing this evening?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm Josh Garrett. I've been developing pretty wide range of languages for a good part of a decade or more. Looking to really make some moves to push some innovation. As I think it was Steve Jobs once said, if you're not going to make a dent in the universe, why even be here? So,
okay,
let's make a dent.
Amen. Every time we get a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates or a founder name, then cheers. So here's cheers. All right, Josh. Thanks. I'm sure we're going to hear more from you soon. So
maybe.
Maybe. I'd like to go ahead and introduce our esteemed guest. Ray, I'm just going to let you take it from here.
So I'm Ray Carrender. I'm Ray Carrender, and I'm a technical lead with Nintendo. Doing There we go. Been doing this for 20 years. Oh,
heck yeah.
Did you say 20 years?
Yeah, man, he started when he was a little boy.
Dang. He's like Doogie, like Doogie Howser, MD, on the computer.
I know, right? I mean, he seriously was. He's got some stories he might share with you sometime.
He was on the Starship Enterprise at the time, though, so not a whole lot of people know.
I got my cap shirt, man.
Boldly going deep into code where no man
Number one
wants to go. Okay. Well, Ray, we're going to circle back around to you about the topic of today's conversation after we go ahead and get a quick hello from Chad. Chad, tell us something about yourself real quick.
Oh yeah, hello. I'm Chad. I'm a developer at VML. I've been doing it for about 7 years now, and I'm sporting Kansas City.
KC rep, holla. It's been a good year. Okay, perfect, man. This guy does some. So he does some PHP, MySQL plus. I mean, hosting some server side stuff. Does that sound good? What else?
Mainly just PHP and Drupal right now, and I did some Java in college, so this will be a good refresher for me tonight.
And more of a perfect tangent could we ask for? So. Java. Mm-hmm. All right. As I understand, Ray, and if everybody wants to kind of Ray, tell us about what you're going to be talking about tonight. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and just do like a quick agenda, and then we can go ahead and start in on the talk.
Sure. The big ones are, why is Java awesome? Because Java is fantastic. What do you need to do Java development? Just the really absolute essentials. Well, not even that. A little more than that. The 5 logical types. Trying to translate classes to other languages so it's really easy to understand and people don't get caught up on OO. Packages, generics, associative arrays, pass by reference, pass by value, collections, garbage collector, try, catch, finally, static, and final.
Perfect. It sounds like we got a decent amount of lines, so I'm just going to ask you to keep it to moderate length, and then maybe we'll do a question at the or some questions. Well, shit, I say anybody wants to ask a question, just go ahead and do that. But talking about some of those words that you were saying, now they sound familiar to me, and I think for most of our listeners they should, because so this is a DevChat channel. But Josh, we were talking about some of the assumptions of where a listener would be. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we have them start off?
Assumptions of where the listener would be?
Yeah, about their skill set and where the tone of the conversation would go. How deep do we want to go? Because this isn't for newbies. But however, I mean, I believe that our format makes the content accessible to multiple people. So I just want to see if you had something to add to that.
Sure, I definitely think that we could do something like that in greater detail on a DevChat overview introduction type video, which I have set up, and we should definitely record that one as well, just to give people a good idea of what this is all about. But I think that every talk, starting with tonight's talk on Java, I think should at least give a somewhat of a solid foundation or basis behind the language, to where we can accommodate some people that maybe somebody's having a friend that's just now starting to get into software development. In addition, not be constantly boring. A more adapted individual who might be familiar with the technology and the terms. So, I think well-rounded is the name of the game with this. And of course, we can have additional ones at any time. Part 2 to go into more detail. Part 3, and so on, and create some nice playlists and additional sideline content on the website as well to go along with these talks. That can include exercise files, stuff like that, kind of how Linda does it. But we'll work and see, and we'll find out what works and what doesn't. And
well said. So you leave your comments below. Let us know what you'd like to discuss, what you liked and what you didn't, and we'll see if we can accommodate you. All right, now on to the main talk. Ray, just start off with the bang. Let's see what this Java is about. Why do I want to know it? I mean, I'm a web guy and a mobile guy. Got some back end, but I don't know. I mean, why would I want to use Java? And just go ahead, bro.
All right. Well, so why I personally love Java? There's 3 reasons. There's structured languages. It's a very structured language. It's type safe. It's a restrictive versus active language, say like C++, where it allows you to do way more than anyone needs to do, but you can still achieve all of the same goals with Java. The second reason, and one that you actually should stay away from, is to get past that restrictedness. Java does a great implementation of reflection. Reflection allows you to run code or create code at runtime.
Okay. So we're talking about a lot of times languages are compiled. So in this scenario, you're saying that that as the code execution is happening, that you can have a certain dynamic quality to that. Am I hearing that correctly?
Well, Java's not compiled. It's a scripted language. It does get compiled down to bytecode, technically, but it's just bytecode. So it's an interpreted language. Excuse me, not a scripted language.
Fair enough.
So since it's an interpreted language like JavaScript, it allows for great runtime creation of code. But at the same point, I want to make this very clear. Unless you know what you're doing, you really should stay away from reflection.
All right, and that's definitely a topic for down the line.
Yes.
That's some high quality stuff. So if you got questions or if you want to post on how you use reflection with Java, then do so in the comments. All right. So what's first on the agenda?
Well, last actually one to the last subject I want to cover, and this is the most important to me, is enums. You won't find these in any other language, or any other language I've seen. If you know one, as you say, put it down in the comments. But you might find similarities in other languages. For example, C and C# have structs. But enums are a beast in and of themselves, where they are treated like a primitive, act like an object, and statically compiled. So, with that said, the next subject would be, what do you need to do Java development? Really, all you need is the Java development kit and a code editor. You can run it all from there. Another couple tools I might suggest you might really like, Maven, which will pull down all the libraries you need as you develop. You just need to tell it what libraries you need. And an IDE, because auto-completion is just beautiful.
Nice, good one there.
And then,
So I've been doing Objective-C in the last couple days, and I've been looking at Cocoa pods as far as package management to do some library and dependency management, and I've seen references to Maven for Java. Is that the role that Maven plays, or can you go just a little bit more into detail for what Maven does?
yeah, Maven's a dependency manager, and another great example of a dependency manager in Java would be Gradle. Basically, what it's going to do is it's going to first pull down all of the jars you need. So it's going to do that by defining the jars you need, though, in the Maven structure. And then you can set it up to compile your code, jar it, war it, do a few other actions, more than a few other actions, but more actions.
So jar being a bytecode library for Java, or what's jar?
Jar stands for Java Archive, and yes, I would say it would be consistent with taking the class files and compiling them together, and putting them into a nice little package that you can import other places. It's also what Maven's going to pull down when it does its dependency management. So moving on to what the next really important things for you to understand and know are what I call the 5 logical types. You've got primitives, classes, interfaces, abstract, enums. These are the types you're going to be working with. Might be a misnomer in and of itself. For primitives, you've got, your char, your int, your byte, your long, your double, your float. When you're working with double and float, big thing I would suggest is using big decimal, because anytime you need precision, the big double and float starts to have issues when it's translated to binary and then uncompiled. This goes for most languages. You typically want to avoid double and float.
Yeah. So maybe some precision things like lost in the details.
Right, exactly. And so big decimal allows you to retain the precision needed when dealing with decimals.
Perfect. One quick question about enums. Can you go ahead and give reference to how that would apply to maybe what some other languages have? So a switch statement, for example.
So that's a bit of a problem. Yes, you can implement it in a switch statement, and with Java, typically only primitives can be used within a switch statement. Classes, for example, strings cannot be used in a switch statement unless it's changed. But your primitive type.
So what does enum really do as a primitive type? How does it differentiate from other primitives then?
Please say that again.
How does enum differentiate from other primitive types?
Well, it's that it acts like an object. So I think this is the first time or the start of when I need to pop into a editor.
Let's see. And how do we do the screen share on this?
I believe I can just write.
Again, it's right on the top left. If you mouse over, you'll get the panel pop out, and it's the blue, or it's the red, or Geez, green with that white arrow.
Hey, we love all those colors here. Indiscriminate.
It's a rainbow.
Okay, hey Ray, do you see that? Do you see I can select one of your, how many? 5 screens?
6 screens.
Just pick the right one.
Trying to figure out
Okay.
which one I want to put up there. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, not the porn.
Ah, damn it. We said it was late.
Oh, awesome.
Let me see. Am I seeing his? Ooh, I am. For anybody else, go ahead and click on Ray, and you'll see his screen. If you don't, go ahead and type up.
All right. So let's jump in and create a quick enum.
Cool. I see you're using IDE. Which IDE is this?
This is IntelliJ. So
Okay.
I'm a long-term Eclipse user, but I've recently been converted over to IntelliJ. I think it's a fantastic editor. I think they're both fantastic editors.
Only reason I pointed that out is because people from Javaland many times most times are going to swear by Eclipse. However, long-term Super Java user Ray is using IntelliSense, so let us know what you think. All right, keep it up. What's going on?
I'm actually going to take 1 second pause here. Give me a second.
Boom, 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 boom.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay, funny story. Okay, funny stories. I will pause that. Go ahead.
Postponed. All right. So let's give this enum a purpose. So what would be its purpose? Let's say car.
I like cars. They go fast. Well, hopefully.
So the first thing you really need to know about enums is that it's a logical structure. Trying to think of a better way to phrase that. But real fast, let's say we've got Chevy. Let's say we've got Ford, Honda,
Toyota, right? Subaru, perhaps. All right.
We can do them all, but let's avoid it. So the first things first, if I wanted to call this, I could say car dot Chevy. Doesn't really do much, but does give it an identification. What I might want to further do is give it a parameter. Let's say private string, I don't know, marketing phone number. I don't know why I'd store that in a string right off the bat, but
And just a couple things I'm noting. So for people that aren't familiar, the public is denoting the accessibility level by other files and functions and objects that will be able to invoke this. Additionally, if you look at the top package, com.Afranius, I won't make that joke, okay, is if you'll note on the Project Explorer on the left, you can see that this is a part of that package. Did I say that correct, Ray?
yes.
All right.
Afranius is Roman general.
Hey.
Okay, so say we want to get our car type, and our car want to get the marketing phone number. We want to know what Chevy's phone number is. We've got a logical structure of static values stored here. Yep. There we go. And Chevy's number, 555-123-4567. 555-123-4567. Just a
Holy
link.
amazing. Okay, yeah, I didn't even see you add the phone numbers, but cool. Makes sense right now. Or were there two different files that we're looking at? Okay, main. Yep. So this is main.java, and it's in the same package that car.java is, and so it is okay.
So
Can
now
you
let's-
add multiple properties to the enum?
Absolutely. Let me real fast finish where I was going next.
Yeah, and Chad, go ahead and add that in the question in the group chat panel, so we can have something to refer back to.
In the Hangouts chat?
That's correct. If you mouse over on the left, it's the chat icon.
We do also
Which
have
is
chat
that.
on the live as well.
Either way, for sure. I've got multiple monitors. I think probably most people do. So if we want to do here, that's cool. But then we might get beeps. I'm not sure.
All right, Chad. What else should we store in this car? Maybe CEO name.
Yeah, or
Of a car. So there's a CEO of a car. I mean, I was thinking make, model, year. But however, I'll go with this CEO of a car. I'm not understanding though.
well,
Let's
isn't I'm
refactor
assuming
this.
these are more these aren't like dynamic. Can you have dynamic enum? I guess I'm getting ahead of myself here. But these seem to be a little bit more static, right?
Yes, so that's the whole point of them. They are statically compiled. Now you can make them a little bit more dynamic. Say I wanted to. So let's back out at what I was doing here. Well, here let's finish this up first.
Car manufacturer, okay, that makes more sense to me. So we're doing an enum, so it kind of seems to be like an array of sorts, and these are of car manufacturers. So I see that we've got the manufacturers themselves, and then we're adding some attributes such as marketing phone number, CEO name. Below that, okay, so we got a. Okay, so coming from a different language, you say public string get market phone number, but it's interesting that maybe what we think of strings in JavaScript might not align to that, right? Because string is not a function. So that's a comment I would have. Address it at whatever point.
Yeah.
But okay, I see what you're
We
doing
kind
here.
of derailed straight into enums.
Okay.
But
Okay,
enums,
so
enums
I
are
think you're
probably
doing
my
good.
favorite.
Go ahead and find out where you want to like wrap enum, and then everybody just for this point we'll hold questions till the end, and then we'll have them go back. So finish up enum. Cool.
All right. So, and it actually doesn't matter that much. Enums are probably my favorite part of the entire language. So, but to answer Chad's next question, that's how you do multiple values. And if you want to make them a little bit more dynamic, we're gonna have to get a whole lot or jump a whole lot of steps. So let's come back to making these a whole lot more dynamic. They are statically compiled, but you can do a lot of things that a lot of Java developers don't know that you can do, or don't think about when you use enums, how extensible and how powerful they are. The quick and dirty version of this is, let's say we wanted to have implementation.
Just make an observation. So you didn't put. So we do a lot of times like var to precede a variable in JavaScript. So PHP denotes with a $sign, and I see Chevy in capital case. That's also something I'd like for you to talk about in just a second, but please go ahead and finish up with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Post it in the chat, Steve.
Oh, son of a gun! I'm trying to be a commentator when I should have been in chat. All right.
So
Also, that's a good. I don't want to interrupt here, but it's also good
It's our
because
pilot.
it gives Ray a chance to see those, and other speakers to see those, and then work those into what they're talking about.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, yeah, totally.
all right. So a lot of things have happened here while they were talking. The big one first is I created a base inside of the enum, a get dynamic implementation. Now, I can go into the main and say car manufacturer dot get dynamic implementation, and if I've overridden it, it'll pull it from here. That's what the override does. I've created an anonymous inner class attached to the enum and overridden it. Again, we have jumped way ahead. And that would allow me to get a dynamic value implementation. Typically, I might have a parent object type at the here and get an implementation or some type of factory object returned here. Incredibly powerful tool that allows you to override this and is very useful. But again, we have jumped way ahead and Java Basics 101.
Okay, perfect. Hey, so I don't think that a lot of people will understand what the main.java does in correlation. So I'd kind of indicated about that they're in the same package. But yeah, we've invoked car manufacturer. You don't have lines on your code. But I'm not sure if people would understand how that line underneath write your code here will. So I see a capital car manufacturer. So I'm believing that's instantiating, and well, yeah, instantiating. So I won't say an instance of, but it's making an instance of that car manufacturer.java, and so it's using the car manufacturer as a as an object type. Is that correct? And then the second part of that on line 7 with the lowercase c for car, that would be the variable name that's holding that instantiation of the car manufacturer. Is that a correct statement?
For the most part, enums are a little different. It's giving a singleton version of, it's giving a version of this object that already exists. Because,
Okay.
but it is a object, so you are correct. This is the object type.
So if I would invoke it later on, because it's a singleton, it would be the same memory reference. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, singleton. Good.
And
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to make a clarification there.
So we had started at primitives and then jumped straight into enums. So we were talking about big decimals, and the next thing we were going to move into was classes. So classes are incredibly important. For most developers out there that aren't working in an object-oriented language, I almost want to say the best parallel for classes is files. You have a JavaScript file, you have another JavaScript file, you want them to act differently from each other. That's your big difference. So, let me see. Here's a good place to actually do car. And the manufacturer would still have been a good one here, but this time we're going to say car has a type of manufacturer. So we already created the car manufacturer, so let's go ahead and reference that. String make private string model. All right. So it's very simple. We have in our car, we have our manufacturer, our make, and our model. Let's create a constructor that requires you to have all three of those values. What a constructor does is it'll just, when the object's created, allows you to pass in attributes to do things with them. 99.99% of the time, if you've got a constructor and no empty constructor, it's just to fill those private variables in. Let's create getters and setters for each of these fields. So we wrap our fields with our small field or our private fields with public getters and setters, just in case we want to manipulate those private fields at a later point. It would be far much easier to just update get make with make plus equals this text, and have it always come back with the make value plus this text. Actually, it'd be better to do that on the set, but nonetheless. The other thing you need to know about when talking about classes is the 4 protection types: private, default, protected, and public. Private means it is not accessible outside of that class in any shape or form, except in the reflections cases.
Ask
Default.
about reflection in the comments.
Yes. Give me 1 second, actually.
Okay, Chad, so I'm going to take just a short chance. I am due a little bit. I'm looking at how this ties into PHP. I know that we've got a class implementation in PHP, but how you access things is going to be different at the end. Pretty much, I'm going to ask you to give a short distinction of what you see with PHP from this.
Sure.
All right, back. So, I was at protected. Protected makes it only accessible within that package or inheriting classes. Default only allows access within that package, and public means access to all. Your big ones you really care about are private and public. So we have a car, hit it, and we call it car, and we want to make a new car. So if we try to do this, you can see from my IDE it's already giving me an error. I didn't create an empty constructor.
IntelliSense, biatch.
Gotta love it.
So in Java, you said that you are required to have a constructor.
If you have a different constructor, otherwise it defaults to an empty constructor.
Yeah, and then can you give 15 seconds about overloading?
Yeah. Can we come back to that one when I create a subclass?
Yes, sir, we can.
Or, well, overloading, not overriding, sorry. Overloading. So let's say I had a second set model that took in an int for I don't know what reason.
Increase the font size if you can, Ray.
Absolutely. Go away.
My short story was that I was just hanging out with the beatboxing world champion last week. What?
Did he do a little beatboxing for you?
He did. Josh, if you can imagine, he performed at Sergio's venue.
Huh. Well, it's not letting me edit it.
Okay, so
I think you have to save a new schema. I think you got to save it and then you can change it.
I think I'm hearing another person rep IntelliJ, if I'm correct.
That. Is that better? Or is that too big?
I think that's about perfect. Chime in on live if you want to. All right, so go ahead.
All right.
So what I'm noting right now is that he's using the same name, so public void set model twice, both on line 41 and 45, but I'm seeing different parameters. So does this have something to do with the overloading? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. When you have the same name of a method with the same signature, but with the only difference being the types of values it takes in, that is overloading by definition. While overriding, as we saw in the car manufacturer example, we have a override here, where we are overriding the parent get dynamic implementation. And so what that is saying is, I don't want to use the parents method. I want to use my own implementation in this class. So that is the difference between overload and override. And really, that's the core basis to what's important about object-oriented. I am not a big fan of classical inheritance. What that means is where a object extends another, or inherits from another object. In Java, we use the word extend. And it takes the methods from the parent object and gives them to the child implementation. Typically, if you're doing that, especially if you're nesting that fairly far, you've got a problem. Now, at the same point, I am a huge fan of interfaces. This kind of gets me into my next topic of what is an interface. An interface is best defined as a contract shared between multiple classes. What it is saying is this class will have these methods, and they all share this type because they all have these methods. So, if we were to create an interface for car, but let's say not all cars have models.
Okay, what's the 15-second on what an interface is?
Did that not get through? It's a contract between multiple classes.
Okay. Is there a different way that you could explain that? Or Chad, please go.
One of the big questions I think for people that I struggled with is when would you use an interface over extending from a class, and where would you draw the line there on which one to use?
So the big one there is the question of so the big question there is when would I use class versus abstract class versus interface? Because the abstract class is kind of the socialism of capitalism and communism here. It meets in the middle. It says you can create signatures and you can create methods you would implement over.
Mm-hmm.
So interface is just a contract. It's just saying that these implementations will have these methods implemented for their particular implementation. While if I wanted to share a method between all of these classes, that might be when I would just do an extend and use a class. Or if I needed a mix of both, where I always needed these classes to create certain methods, but they can all share these other methods that are already implemented, then I would use an abstract class.
Okay, so again, kind of referring to my objective IOC, and Chad, or somebody's got. Okay, we'll work on the feedback issue, but so I'm looking at an iOS project, and they've got header files and implementation files. So header is where you're going to do your imports and kind of like what files do I want to reference, and then the implementation is it's a .m file, and that's where you'll actually declare your functions and the code that's in there. So I'm seeing that there's interface used in the header file, and essentially stating that this header file is going to be an interface for a bunch of other functional code. So as I'm kind of seeing it, it's a way to interface with that. Is that does it sound a little too cliche? So that's kind of what I'm getting from interface.
All right. I really do believe, I think the best way to explain an interface is really as a contract between multiple classes, just all saying what are we going to have. But real fast, as an example of a extending, so let's say make extends car. Okay? And if I went to my main and I said car equals new make, that is a legitimate call. And I would be able to say car dot set make with a string, even though make has nothing in its file because it's just pulling it all down from car.
No variable declarations. It's just extending at this point. Okay.
So that's the quick and simple of extended implements. But let's say I wanted to create a abstract class. So now basically what I'm saying is that car must implement this like I did for the interface, but I can also say actually access that here in the main like that, even though it's in the, okay, I shouldn't have named the class car interface, but the car interface.
Right.
So basically, the difference between an interface and an abstract class is the abstract class can have actual functions that serve a purpose, while the interface just tells the other classes what they're going to do, like a contract. Is that right?
That is 99.99% right. There's one additional thing I hadn't mentioned yet. So you got it right all the way to
Okay.
what I've mentioned. You can have multiple interfaces, but you can only extend one class. So I
Gotcha.
can do and make extend car and car interface. That would give me an error. Multiple inheritance. Does not. Java doesn't like multiple inheritance for very good reasons. When you get on really large projects and you're trying to balance maintainability, it gets near impossible to maintain applications with multiple inheritance. And I'm sure a future viewer watching this is going to disagree with me because this is one of those hot topic debates. But yeah, it's really, truly a pain in the butt to maintain multiple inheritance. And it's also why we don't like to use classical inheritance for several levels deep.
Post in the comments below if you have a different feeling on that. But I hear what you're saying, and yeah, maintainability, and probably a lot of other reasons that I see that I would probably agree with you. But you're the Java expert, so.
All right. All right, so that's the more in-depth overview of classes. Fairly simple.
Steve Jobs.
The best explanation I honestly like to say is that, and this really goes for Java developers, every file or every item, every file is a class or a version of a class, interface, abstract class, enum, whatever. Everything is a class in Java. And so when you get your head wrapped around that, you can almost put it into a one-to-one comparison with every class is a file. It's just a group in that file. Every file is very purpose-driven. That jumping over and ignoring inner classes and inner anonymous classes, but we don't want to go into those really today. Generally, avoid them unless you're doing Android development.
Oh, real quick before you do, isn't it true that for the most part, this may be for new people to Java, if you name a file car, you must have a class in it called car. Is that correct?
My name, yes. So the file name must match the actual implementation name.
Yeah, because in PHP, you can name the file whatever you want. That's the only reason I mentioned that.
Yeah. I will say, luckily, IDEs take care of me even ever thinking about those things anymore. All right. So next up on my list, since we've covered classes, interface, abstract classes, and delved into enums, let's go back to the enum with everything we've learned so far. Where are we at on time? 8:51.
Yeah, and I'm going to do a brief Alpha Stacks pause and do a shout out to Hugo Escobar for your outstanding comments. You have received the one lucky invitation to DevStack's, or I mean Dev Channel Slack. So check your email and sign up, and we'll be seeing you all. All right, Ray, show us how this is done.
All right. Well, we are getting close to time unless we want to push this on.
Yeah, we're going to push it on, I think, about an additional 10 minutes because we started about 10 minutes late, if you're cool with that, as long as everybody can do the time. And if you can't, just drop out quietly and we'll discuss it later.
Yeah. All right. So, as we had talked about before, this is our Enum implementation. Very, very complex when you actually look at it. Let's go ahead and pull this override out. Because how enums are typically used out there is as logical groups of statics. And if we go back to our main, few really important features that I think are very important is, first of all, value of feature. So we can take car manufacturer, value of, and instead of doing .chevy here, we can say get car string Chevy. So the user could put in an input of a string, and as long as it validates to what is actually stored as the name, if it's stored as the name value, so this is the name, it will actually pull it from this list. So I can do a quick dynamic lookup when the user gives me input and actually get my static values back, all packaged into a nice little bundle. And as you'll see, let's not do Chevy because we've done Chevy. Let's do Ford. As you see, when we run it,
Found on road.
We get their phone number back for Ford, 193, which is the second digit, 193.
Okay.
So it's really good for taking an input and actually controlling it with logical static information that's compiled into the code. You know, you wouldn't want to do this with your database information unless you're using that enum as a database field for, you know, this is one type, this is another type, static types in the database. For example, what a lot of people do is say, okay, for Chevy in my database, I have it stored as 1. For Ford in my database, I have it stored as 2. And I'm dropping Honda, Subaru, and everything else because, well, these are American names. And so for the storing less information in my database, just storing a quick little short, heck, let's make this a short, the absolute minimum data that we ever need. All right. Is it? No, I don't remember what the short is. Okay, we're going to go back to int. For database optimization. Now, at the same point, I'm a big fan of maintainability, scalability, and readability. Therefore, I like to store just the word Chevy in my database. But since it's coming from my enum and it will always be that value, that's fine. It's just more expensive, and there's definitely a performance argument there. People will call me a proponent of bloat code. And so if we wanted to get Ford's database value back, it's 2. So the user puts in Ford or selects Ford from their drop-down list, and we go and search our database for the enum 2, and we get Ford back. So that's a lot of places where you'll see enums used. Very extensible, very, very powerful, and when used right, you can go to the moon with them, honestly. Another thing I want to say, and UML modelers will argue with me, but you really need to ignore is a, has a when looking at class inheritance. I really think from all the conversations I've had over 20 years and people trying to understand object-oriented programming, is a, has caused more confusion than anything else. So in this case where we had created make extends car, make is a car. Car has a, well, car has a string. But
I mean, so pretty much we're just looking for not reusing parameters, and I mean, at the end of the day, memory, right? So anything that you can define at a higher class. So I mean, if this weren't a car manufacturer, if it was actually, if we're talking about a vehicle, then you could have a variable number of tires. You could have make, model, and stuff like that, and then below a make. So what separates a make from a vehicle in its generic sense? Okay, cool.
all right. So we covered packages. I shouldn't have been so far down my list. The next thing we might want to cover is,
I like your package.
let's skip over that one actually for now.
That's a Franius package.
Yeah.
Come on, that's
I like
funny.
my
That's
Roman
funny.
generals.
Is that what is that again? A Franius.
Roman general.
Well, I mean, is that just whatever you name that, whatever you wanted, or is there a certain name why it's named that?
I technically own a corporation in Kansas named Afranius Incorporated.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, in the Java sense, do you need that package?
Technically, no, you don't have to have it in a package if you put code in your source. Packaging is just essentially your folder structure to get to
Oh, I see.
classes. So it
Oh, I see.
where
Okay.
it is.
Pausing for okay, go ahead.
Let's drop down to collections. So I'm going to assume everybody knows what an array is.
Cool, it's a set of values.
Right. So in Java, you have to define your array size. So let's say I had a string array.
Is this the strongly type thing that you're talking about?
I think using the word car manufacturer and things like that makes it strongly typed because there is no var. Okay. Anyways. Of 0 equals string 1. Array of 1 equals string 2. Array of 2 equals string 3. This will blow up at compile time because it's only defined for 2 in length. Surprised the IDE doesn't catch that. Huh. It'll give a what we call an index out of bounds exception. So if I run this, exception in thread main, Java lang array index out of bounds exception. It's only expecting 2 values starting from a count of 0, so 0 and 1. So I tend to avoid string arrays and instead prefer to use dynamic size lists. Trying to create a map. Because you never know how many values you're going to get back. I can just sit there and add all day long. However, the problem is now I could say array list.add car manufacturer. That is a legitimate case. That shouldn't be a legitimate case. This is the strong typing that we were talking about. But now if I make use a generic and say string, this will now give me an error before I even ever try to run it at runtime. It'll only take strings. Another thing to note, list
That's
is
cool.
interface. Array list is an implementation, so it's a class. You can't say new to an interface. It's not an implementation. The other things you need to know about set. Give me a second. I gotta help my kid button his pants.
Oh, I know. So let me take a chance to talk about me. Echo, echo. I've got 2 new babies, and they are gorgeous, handsome twins. By golly. That's why I'm up late right now taking night shift, so you button those pants. And I will zip those onesies, okay?
All right.
Am I silly? Do you like
it? Into a creepy man. Just a little creepy.
Okay. Do you like this? Reference it in the comments below.
All right. So the 3 major types of questions that you really should know about is list, set, and map. These are interfaces. A list is a dynamically sized array. A set is a unique array, and a map is a key value pair. So this goes into a question I had received at an earlier point of associative arrays. It allows me to say, put my string as a lookup key with the value of and now that will return car manufacturer. Oh, technically Ford. Let's do Chevy, just to throw people off. So I can do now map.get Ford. However, now it throws an error because it's trying to return an object. So I've got 2 choices here. I can cast it to car manufacturer, or I can do what I should have done in the first place. Made it type safe. Now I don't need to cast it. So there's no chance of cast exception. All right. I hope the feedback's not coming from me. I don't hear anything coming out of my speakers beyond beeps.
You sound good to me, dude.
Whoever unpaused has got the base. Yeah. Just re-pause. I got headphones on, bro. It's not me.
I don't have headphones on. I can put headphones on if we think that'll help.
Yeah. We're at the end of this one, so we'll probably have best practices by the time this is done. Okay, I am given the 5-minute name.
All right. And so now we can see that we get our car manufacturer back for Ford, which actually comes back with Chevy. All right. So that's key value pairs, lists, sets. Any questions around how those 3 operate?
So list is like an array, but not.
What was you saying
And
the
then
set was
set.
again?
Hey Ray, what's the set?
All right, so set would be a unique list. So if I try to do set add string 1, set add string 2, and I try to do add set.add string 1 again, it's only going to give me 2
Oh, I see.
values. It's going to take, let's see if this works. Hopefully that doesn't just give me the reference. String 2, string 1. See, but if I take this out, second one, you'll notice, okay, well, maybe you won't notice string 2, string 1. Should have been string 1, string 2. Well, it's dynamic, so it's however it decides to put them in there. Technically, it'll take always the last value and put that in and it'll reset that in order, removing the previous one. But anyways,
Is there any built-in Java functions that can handle finding stuff in an array or in these lists, or like PHP has a set of array functions that does various things? Is there built-in tools for that in Java?
for finding things within an array, yes, there is.
Like finding, merging, that kind of stuff.
So, is that right? Array util. First, there's collections.
Okay.
And we can do, for example, if we wanted to sort our array, would technically sort it. See? So we put it in string 2, string 1, string 3, and then we got back after we sorted it, string 1, string 2, string 3. So it has sorted.
Okay.
Array list.index of, we can find the index of, say, string 1. Case 1, if we had done string 2. Zero. And it starts at a 0 index. So I can find the string within the array. What was the other question?
I think that answered it. I was just curious on kind of the stuff that helps with it, helps with handling those.
So I think we're kind of coming to a logical end of this part. I think we've kind of done some interactive questions. And who needs to mute their microphone? Chad. No, you got headphones in? Okay, Josh, you never mess. I think. Oh, okay, Ray, you were the culprit. So next time we're gonna need you to do headphones or some sort of noise cancellation policy. That being said, hey man, you're the presenter, so you are alleviated of issues dealing with that. Okay, so that being said, I think that we've kind of gone over most of what your topic was. So we can look at how we're going to do questions at the end. Something I do like to do, and again, this is taken from the inception of DevChat, where it made the Slack channel from, is well, they do 3. We're going to start with 1, do a round robin of one thing in tech that you've found this week or since the last session that you like. And Chad, I'm going to go ahead and put you on the spot. Name one cool technology thing in general you found recently that you like. Go.
One thing, any technology that I found recently that I liked, is that what you said?
Yeah, anything.
Oh shoot. Let's see. Can you come back to me?
I
Yeah,
can.
you
Okay. I'll
can't
go ahead and.
bring show
You put
and
me on
tell
the
on
spot.
everybody by surprise.
Okay, all right. Well, Josh, man, you got a bazillion cool things and haven't put you on the spot, so you're gonna have two. You're gonna start and end it. And so one
No,
cool
I'm
thing that
not.
you've seen. Oh, you aren't? Okay, so here's what I'll
No.
do. Hackintosh VHD or VDI. So putting Macintosh virtual machine on the cloud.
Oh,
Who's
nice. That's
next up?
cool.
All right, I'll go next. Really cool technology thing, HoloLens.
HoloLens. Amen, brother. Amen. Okay, Chad, are you ready? Josh, you ready? Who's next?
I wanted to see real quick, Ray. You had some more things that potentially we could turn that into a part two.
Absolutely. So this is supposed to feed into making servlets and using Spring as we got an audio problem.
Yeah, choppy a little
It's
bit.
choppy.
Go ahead and unplug your headphones and just continue the end of it without your headphones.
All right. So the big things that I've got are talking about Spring and talking about the rest of this, which is try catch finally static and final garbage collector. But yeah, it's about moving into servlets and Spring so that people can start doing web development. That'll be a much more fluid talk.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I translated that Spring, and it is a framework on top of Java that allows you to do a lot of things without having to write all the code for everything that he was starting to show you. It's awesome. If you're going to go into the corporate world with Java, you'll probably want to know Spring. Okay, so that brings us to Chad. Did you go? Chad or Josh?
For the cool new technology.
Yeah, anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be something you program. It can be a device that you like. Anything, go.
Okay. Drupal has Drupal 7 has you can install modules and stuff using Composer, and they have their own packagist, Drupal packagist. So that's kind of a cool new thing I've learned. You can actually use Composer to install it.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to add that to the questions for whenever you give your Drupal talk. All right, Josh, you got to have something cool at least, man.
This cool thing called Hangouts on Air allows you to have some awesome discussions with your team and automatically archive in basically any encoding format that you want. You know, as we get new cameras and as more people get on Google Fiber and stuff like that, I mean, we could be having Hangouts on Air in 4K with everybody. You know, so it's a pretty cool technology that I do think is ready for prime time, and we can take in some pretty cool levels. We can also have different types of real-time interactivity in the broadcast itself. For example, you know, polls and stuff like that. And we can have, you know, of course, links and raw HTML give overlays onto the screen as we're moving through. You know, I think there's definitely some opportunity for even some real-time lessons going on where our viewers are going through that during the discussion, and then be able to do their own screen share even, and you know, show everybody perhaps a new or different way that they were able to do what we were just discussing. You know, and hopefully turn it into a, you know, right now we have sort of the knowledge transfer aspect going on, and I'd like to get this into a full kind of a feedback loop, you know, and super boost, and see where it goes from there.
Those were very poignant words from the co-founder of AlphaStacks, Josh Garrett. We do seek to entertain and incite you on a weekly or some other temporal basis. So please do check back. Of course, we've only had about 30 minutes in order to prepare, maybe a little bit longer than that. So this is off the cuff, and I wanna say a special thanks to Ray for coming and doing his presentation. So Java. Just if you learn Java, don't work at a bank. However, you can make a lot of money if you do. So
It's not just coffee.
yes, it's not just coffee.
Do you know
That
how
being
many
said,
banks I've worked at?
we are doing AlphaStacks pilot. Sign out. Thank you, and we'll be sure to see you all soon. Again, leave your comments below and be sure to subscribe. Later.
Peace.